All right. So we have created an application package. We have seen that how do we create a CVTs and all right. So uh, fine. But now we have to decide to talk about the actual application. Then we need to think about the first thing what comes into each guy's mind, right? Whenever we create an application, not necessarily in Appian or any other language, if we need to create a new application from the scratch, what is the first thing that comes in your mind?
DB connection.
DB connection. So before making a DB connection, you should have a database model as well, right? The database, what kind of database you will require, what kind of table you will be requiring, right? So
Yeah, schema.
if you talk about this application like advertisement scheduler, what is the first thing that you think that should be there? I mean, from where we can start. I believe it should have one registration form where the advertising company can register themselves, right?
Yes, right.
Right. So I think in the registration form we have to get the name of that app, the advertisement company, and then their requirements, what kind of advertisement they want to be created. Right. That was a correct me if I'm wrong. Because it's a new thing, mother Manikant. So so what we are planning to do is that we are going to create an application where we will register some of the companies. They will request for their advertisement to be created. They will be sharing some files with us, in terms of PDF or a Word file, and then we have to create an advertisement, right? Is that the application we are going to create, and we need to publish that, right? Or anything else missing here?
Ravi, can you repeat it?
Yeah, and that's what I'm asking to Manika, right? Right, Manika, is that the thing, right? I mean, we will register a few companies, and when we register a few companies, that will also have one of their workflow to successfully register a company, and then they will provide some document to us, and we based on those documents we need to prepare a what do you say that advertisement, right? And then we need to get an approval for that one, right? So we initially the idea was like to have some audio file and video clips which we are not going to cover. We will be covering some documentation part, like how do we create a documentation, how do we approve an advertisement, right? Monica, you are talking
Yeah,
to.
yeah, right, right.
Okay. So let's have some, registration workflow where we can see how do we register an advertisement company. Okay, Sweta, did you get the point? So we will be registering a company, and for each company,
Yeah.
what they can do, they can, provide some details of themselves, so we can have a registered company along our side, and then we can have, um, you know, um, what do you say that? When we register their company, then we can have an advertisement, whatever the documents they will provide. Based on that, we can prepare an advertisement thing, and that will be get published.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what we thought of. Let's see how it goes. It's a very new approach kind of thing. I am also trying to. Let's see how it goes. Okay, but yeah, we'll cover all the topics. How do we do the workflow, and how do we go for an approval process? We will see all those things. So whenever we think about let me share my screen. Let me to open the Excel sheet. Okay, so when we talk about registration of a company, what do you think? What could be the people? I'll say company um, details, right? So if you are talking to have a one registration form for a company, what are the things we will require? First of all, we will definitely require a company called ID. I mean, sorry, the name field called ID, which should be the auto increment. So I'll say auto increment ID. It should be number integer, and then it should be primary key, and it should also be auto increment. Okay. So what else? What could be the other things? We can have company name, right? It's going to type of varchar. What else we can have?
Address.
Yeah, so we can have company address.
Contact information.
Contact information. We can have, say, email. We can have phone. What else?
Phone could be number, a type of, or
So we
Yeah,
generally, if you talk about the format, right, we have to take some like +91 or +1.
oh, okay, okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a format. Yeah, so that's why we take the character.
actually phone number we can give text also, right?
Yeah, that's a varchar,
Okay.
valid
Uh,
characters.
but, yeah, but in DB it will show as a text, right?
Yes, yes, it's a
Because
valid character.
if you give number, we can't give the validations for phone number. So we are taking as a varchar, but it will shows in a DB as a text, right?
Hmm.
Okay.
So what company name we can have, address, email address, phone number, we can ask for that, and then what else we can have? Um, Come on, guys, give me some idea. Uh, so we can have, registration on, like which date it has been registered on. So that's going to be date, and we can also have, who has registered it, or so that we can say registered by. It's Varchar. And then we can, for a soft delete, we can have a comma for exact date. Anything else that comes up in your mind?
End of status.
For that's a state. Yes, so we can have registration status. Okay. Okay, let me put this one as a number integer. I'll tell you why. So we are planning to have also one reference table. This is also first time I'm going to try. So it will have AID. It should be number integer, primary key, and it will have auto increment. If we are going to add more and more, status, I mean, more and more reference values here. Okay, so it will have number, it is there, and we have category. Let's say we are going to put some category called status, so it will have the list of the status. We'll have varchar, okay, and then it will have display value.
What is this reference table, Ravi? Like,
So see, ideally, what we need to do, we should not be capturing the direct values to the table, because if you're going to do somewhere right in by creating the uh, views and all, right? So the mapping, if you want to do with a different reference table, we should be capturing the ID. So the reference table will always capture all those reference value that we will be using throughout our application. For example, if you are going to capture the status, let's say I have a reference table here and the values are like something like this. Let me show you some example. AID, and then it has category, and then it has display value. Okay. For example, let's say I have one, and category I'll say status, and then we can have, let's say, in progress. So instead of capturing directly in progress here, what we are going to capture is one. For example, let's say two, it's again a status, and here I'll say pending with manager. So we will be updating the status called one and two, and one and two in the reference table refers this particular thing. Okay. So this is the best way of using any, because if we are going to capture in progress and pending is manager everywhere, right? It will be having a text. So we should not be using this text field directly. We should be using this, reference table to capture the value in proper way. So we will have the ID. Okay. So this is how generally it works for database management. Okay. Otherwise,
Okay.
if you don't want to have the reference table, you can directly put this in progress and pending is measured here. Okay. But this really helps you when you think about the larger process. If you want to create a view or if you want to create a store procedure and all, right, that time this will be really useful. Okay.
So that category is mapped to registration status, right?
Yeah, I mean, see, the reference table could be a reference table for anything, right? Like suppose
Okay.
if you want to have some, let's say, a company category, right? Let's say we have a category for company, right? And company, maybe it's a present company, it's a pharma company, it's a healthcare domain, or it's insurance company. Let's say, for example, there could be many more statuses. Okay. And then let's say we have like somewhere we can start from 8, and then it's say I can say company category, I'll say pharma. Okay. And then you can have 9, which can have company category, and then you can say insurance. Now let's say, for example, in our table, I will also, let's introduce that as well. Let's introduce that, right? Then it will be clear. I'll say company category. I'm going to type with the number integer. Okay. And I want to display one drop down field on the interface while the registering the form, and I want to retrieve all those company category. So in this table, we will query for company category and we'll get all the list of here. Okay. From the reference table, we can also get it. In that way, it will be very dynamic. Whatever number of tables, entry will be there into the system, that will be displayed into your drop down.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
understood. Yeah.
I want to display this into my one of those drop down fields. So I don't have to update the code every time. I just pass the company category and it will get it. Let's say, for example, if user has later this customer has added more and more fields, then they will get more and more the same number of drop downs listed here, right? I don't have to modify anything. Okay, we just have to make sure that they are adding the correct category. Okay, this value. Got it? Any issues, everyone? Here?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's all. Let's go and start creating the table and see how it works. How do we create a table? Let me show us the back. Okay, so to create a table, we have to move to the cloud database. We'll click it here and then we go to cloud database. So as you're seeing here, right, we are getting our name created with the prefix ASS, 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 right? The same way, we can also create a table. We click on new and say ASS company registration. Let's say we want to have company registration. We'll have AID, auto increment ID. Okay, it's type of integer and it is going to be auto increment as well, and the primary key. Okay, so it can't be null initially. So I just make this as an auto increment and it will automatically take the primary key. All right. Now next we have name. Let's say company name. It's going to be a character. Let's say I want to have 100 characters long. It can be null initially. So I'm just putting this null checkbox. And then we can have category. Varchar, let's say 50 characters long, and null initially. And then we can have address. Shall we divide the address into multiple parts? So let's say we can have city. Let's start from the straight. Varchar and long, so put 255 factors. I need more and more columns. Let's say I need 4 columns more. So I just click on add 4 columns. Look at added here. It's a city, varchar. This category will be number integer, right? Because we are going to use a reference table. So it's a number integer. And then city is a varchar. And then let's say 25 factors long. Means it can be null. And then state again going to be varchar. Let's say 25 characters long. Initially it can be null. What else we have? Email going to be varchar. Let's say 100 characters long. And then we have phone number varchar 100 characters long. We have 4 more fields, so add 4 here. So we can have registration date. It's going to be date. So it's here. And registration by. We have varchar. Let's say 100 characters long. And then we have registration status. It's going to be number integer because we are going to use a reference table. And we now and then we have file is active. For soft fillet, for this one we can have a tiny int, okay, and then so we have added all those columns here. Okay, now if you think everything looks okay and you want to keep the SQL, you just simply click on the preview SQL. It will create the statement for you, and you can copy the statement and you can keep it subject for your future reference. Okay, and then you can click close and then say save. So once you click on save, please enter a valid length for which one? Phone number. Okay, phone number we have not given, so let's say 25 characters. Because it's a varchar, it will ask for the okay, now you can click on save. Once you click on save, a table will be created for us. Let's say ASS company registration. You can see that a table has been created. Okay, it has all the structure that we created and it has the values. All right. So what we are going to do is that we are going to create an interface which will be a kind of a registration form where we need to register. A company will visit to our branch and we'll say, okay, please provide your details, or over the call, so we can register their company with us. Okay, once we register a company with us, what we need to do is that we will also ask, we will trigger a task for them. We will share our credentials for them. This is a credentials has been created for you. Kindly, whenever the task will get generated to you guys, you need to come and complete your task. Okay. All right. So, any questions on the creating a table?
So I have two questions. Can I go?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Here you are giving that a city, some street. You are giving varchar and some length, right? So this length after 250k characters, if we enter more than that, it will take or not? It doesn't take.
No, it won't take. The process will break.
Yeah,
So you
because
have to
in
put.
the same in the same way I give n 255, but it will taking more than 250 because without validation it can't work, right?
No. So in the field, you have to put a validation mentioning that the length is limited to 255 characters. You cannot go beyond that.
Okay, and one more next second question is
Uh-huh.
here you are giving that null. You are clicking on a checkbox that giving null. What is the purpose of giving this null?
So purpose is that initially, the auto increment ID it's only is not null, right? Because auto increment ID has some value. It will
Okay,
automatically increment. The other fields, what will happen is that
okay,
suppose imagine if you would have the updated by an updated date column, right? So updated by an
okay,
updated column will not have the value initially until unless people don't update it. So if you don't put that null checkbox initially as null, So what will happen? The process will say that we require some value for those two fields which you are not passing, right? So that's why if you pass the null, right, so what will happen? It will accept the null value as also. So to make it enable that it can accept the null value, we need to check that checkbox.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Good questions. All right. Anyone else has any questions? What is a primary key? It's a small, very small question. What is a primary key? Come on, guys.
The ID, which incremental ID.
No, that's the auto increment, which is incremental. So any ID can be incremental, right? That's not an issue. But what is the primary key specifically?
Primary
Through
key
which
is a key that shows a unique queue for every particular person by creating any specific task. And
Each record, yeah, for each record, each row in your table, it will be uniquely identified, right? So that's a primary key.
yeah,
Now
and
it
it,
can't
it
be
will
duplicated.
auto increment by adding a number of persons
Yeah,
columns.
yes, correct. So whenever you make a new entry to the table, it will generate an auto ID for each one, which is a primary key. So we can uniquely identify the primary key. What is the purpose of it? I mean, why do we need a primary key? And what's the benefit of using a primary key?
it identifies a particular row, and there is no duplicate with that primary key.
We can easily identify the end user tasks.
Okay. And why don't we make a primary key? Okay, first of all, can we make a primary key column as a text, like first name, last name, or company name? Can we make that key as a primary key?
We can't, because primary key is a, like a persons who are taking a new task. It will automatically gives a new unique number. If you take as a company as a primary means, it will take a different thing, different ways. It will go in different ways. That means company, there will be a XYZ companies, so we can't take
Mhm.
one company as a primary key.
Okay. So, I mean, is that system allows you to know or not to make it as a, to make that column as a primary key?
System will allows, but we can't perform the task with a best practices.
If you say so, like yeah, it's a base practice. We can't do that. Why? Because what happens? So let me see. See, right now we have given this ID as a primary key. If I go and remove this, okay, if I go and remove this, and if I try to make this company name as a primary key, that will also work. Okay, it's not like it doesn't work. But the thing is that it will be very complex to handle. Like maybe if you're providing, imagine this is the first name. Many people can have the same first name, right? So it will not allow you to insert the value because it will say it's a duplicate value. Second thing is that we should always be making the keys for a number integer because indexing will be very faster, right? We should not, if there are no integer key, then unfortunately we have to make some text column as a primary key if it is required. But if you talk about the comparison like integer and var character or text, any other things, which is the faster, so the integer will always be faster to for the indexing purpose to pointing out some particular value. Okay, so that's the reason you might have seen most of the places the integer is always remain as a primary key instead of any character. Okay, because just because of the it's a faster. All right. Okay, so now we also had decided to create some reference table, right? So let's go and create some reference table where we can put some values for the reference table. That it will be predefined value, right? So we can use it on the interface. So let's go and create one more table. Now you guys can help me. I'll say ASS underscore reference table. Okay, So it will have AID, which should be integer, and it also is going to be the auto increment primary key. What is the second thing? Category. It's kind of a varchar. Let's say put character called 25 characters long. Initially it can be null, and then we can have display value. It's going to be by character. Let's say 100 characters long. Okay, and what else? That's all, right? Do we need anything else? ID, category, and the value. All right. Let's say is active. Let's have that is active also. Like if you want to soft delete any of one of the you know, reference number, then we can have that. Okay. Shall I hit go? Save this table. Any questions here? Okay. Now let's also learn how do we insert a value directly to the system for now. As a first. So what we can do, we can go to the browse. We can see this is the table that we have created. Let's go and click on insert. And let's say status. I'm going to put one category as a status. Display value, I'll say in progress. Is active, I'll say 1. Okay. Another status. Display value, let's say we have pending with manager is 1. So likewise, we can create multiple. Now, if I want to create it all at a time, right? What we can do is that just click on the preview SQL. It will generate the code for you. Copy this, close. Now let's go to the SQL directly. I didn't save it. Okay, I just click on here and then I'll say insert into the reference table. These are the columns. Okay, and then values. So values 1. So this is the first value. This is the second value. Let's copy this, comma separated, and put next. I'll say registered, and I'll say rejected. Any other status that you can think of? Okay, same way we can have like company category that we discussed, right? Company category. So let's say we have first of all called pharma. Copy this, put it here. Company category. We can have insurance. Okay, now let's have few more. Come on. Finance, and then transport. Okay, so we are going to add this number of entries into the reference table. So just simply select and have it here and then click on go. Once you click on go, all those values will get inserted to the table. So click on browse, you will be able to see. So for status, we have 4 status. For company category, we have 4 company category. So whenever we want to have the status list, we can have it. Whenever we want to have the list of company category, we can get it from the reference table. We don't have to hard code it anywhere. Okay. So if user is going to add few more company category here, they can put it here. So it will be automatically reflect to our system. Okay. Any questions, guys? How do we get this table and then how do we insert the data? Any questions? Okay. If there's no questions, then we'll move next. Okay, so now this table is ready. And then we also have to create associated CDTs for this one. So that whenever we try to pull this information or whenever we try to insert this information to these two tables, there should be a proper data type which can handle this kind of data, right? Why? Because see, this data has a combination of let's say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 fields. So there should be a custom data type which is having a 12 fields, right? So we discuss how do we create the custom data type. There are 4 ways. So you tell me now which is the best way to create the CT for these scenarios where we have the tables. Which option should I select? Anyone? Which option should I select?
I
Create
think
from
create from
scratch.
database.
Yeah, it should be the create from database table or view because we are going to create a CDT custom data type for our table, right? So we select this option. We select the data source. So by default, the Appian database that we have is, so by default data source is a JDBC Appian Tomcat. Okay. Now imagine you would have the table. You are using a separate table called SQL Server or Oracle, right? So what we have to do, we have to add those data sources into our admin console. So those will be also now listed here. If we add those, databases through our admin console, those will be also listed here. Okay, so we have selected the database. Now, what table we need to select? So I'll say ASS company registration. So once we select this particular table, so this is the table that we have created. We click on continue. Once we click on continue, you will see that all those columns that a table has, these are the column names, right? It get created here, and then associated field name. So this field name will be the name of our CDT. Okay. So what we should follow, Appian says that we should always follow camel casing for our CDT name. So it is not able to, it will not able to get that whatever it is there. It just take the, all in smaller case. So we have to make that as a camel casing wherever is required. So company name, okay, it's fine. Street is fine. These all fine. Registration date, we can have this as camel casing. Registration by, we can have the camel casing. Exactly, we can have the camel casing. Right now, I'm going to uncheck this checkbox. We'll see why it works, how it works, right? So right now, I'm just going to simply create a CDT. The first thing that you will realize is the namespace. Namespace is also used to uniquely identify your CDT. You might have the name, this is the name of your CDT is going to be ASS company registration. There is a quite possibility that someone also can have the same name. In that case, how do we identify that which CDT is R? So whenever you open the CDT, you will realize that there is a namespace which is making it unique. In case the name is same, by seeing this namespace, you will be able to understand which CDT is for your purpose. So till here it will be same, and after that this is the prefix of your application ASS. If you want to change, you can also change it. If you want to put, this is the name of your CDT. Usually it's copy the name of your table directly to your CDT. So you can want to change, you can change it. Otherwise, it's always a good idea to keep the column name, CDT name and table name same, so you can easily understand which CDT belongs to which table. And then we have a description, so we can have a description. This CDT holds the structure of company registration table. Okay, and we have changed that modify name and everything. I'm not taking this checkbox now. We'll see in the next option what it does actually. I'll say create. Once we say create, this, if you go back here, you will see that this company registration CDT has been created. This is a CDT and it has the type. We need to modify one thing is actually we have given this a number integer because there in the table it was taken as a tiny int, so it considers the number integer. We can change it, just delete that, and then here select boolean. Okay, and then click on save. So you can also update the CDT if you want to make some changes here. So we have made that as a boolean field. The varchar that we decided is a text here. The number integer that we have is a number integer. Okay, the date is the date. Any question till here, guys, for CT, and whatever the length we have given into the for varchar, we can see it here. This AID is a primary key. Okay, so it's also visible on the system. If you click on it, you will be able to see that it's also checked. This checkbox is checked. Why? Because this was as a auto increment. Okay, any questions for this CT?
No, Ravi.
All right. Now let's see how this CT gets defined as an XML form in the backend. Okay, how it understand that what's the table name, where it has been defined everything, right? So let's see. Click on the setting icons, go to the download XST. Once we download the XST file, I need to reshare my screen.
I have a small question.
Uh-huh.
That you created from DB, right? You taken the data type. So
Uh-huh.
what remaining options create from scratch, duplicate, and more option is there. At what
Uh-huh.
situation that remaining three options will work out?
Now, in case if you don't want to write your data to your table and all, you just want to collectively bring all information at one place, you can use that option.
Okay. Are you going to show these three options also in like this option? How you use this option? Same way, remaining three options also you can will you show me
So
how
I
it will
just
work?
created a last day the dummy, like how do we create but again, if you want, I can say that's not a big deal.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, let me open that 65 for you guys. Okay, so yeah, see this one. This is the XST file that we downloaded. It has certain fields here. This is the namespace, target namespace. You can see the same thing, right, that we have given there. And then it has a complex type. So this complex type is basically the name of the CDT. And then we have certain attributes used here. So at the rate of table, these are called JPA annotations, Java Java properties annotations, prefix annotations is there. So there might be questions that in an XST file, what are the JPA annotations? So there are certain annotations that we are using. It's called at the rate of table. That's define the name of your table. This is the name of your table. Okay, so that comes with a JPA annotation called at the rate of table. So this sorry, after this definition of this Appian annotations here, this section defines the name of the table, which table it is being copied, and then we have a sequence, and the sequence will have the list of the columns, and each column is represented by the element. So here the first column, we can see the at the rate of column. The at the rate of column defines that which column this particular row attribute has been connected. So at the rate of column defines that which column it has been said. It's the name of the column. Okay, it's a unique true defines that it's a uniquely defined. At the rate of ID means that it's a primary column. It's a primary key. Okay, and at the rate generated value means that it's a auto increment, and we have only that available for AID. So this is not available for any other columns. Okay, so there are a few annotations we talk about. We talk about the at the rate of table, which defines the name of the table. At the rate of ID, which defines which is the column is a primary key. At the rate of generated value, which defines that column is also an auto increment. At the rate of column, the certain has a many other parameters. There is the name, null label true or false, unique is true, column definition is what? It's a type of your column. If you go and say the company name, we do not have ID generated here. Why? Because this is not a primary key. So it just have the column, and it's the name of the column. Column definition is a varchar 100. If you would have given the null label here also, that is not required. But if you put null label here, what's the value for null label? if I want to add the label here, what should be the value for it? Can anyone tell me? It will be true, right? Why? Because these all are the initial. If you have checked the checkbox null true, so it will be here. Okay, as a true. Okay, but that also get defined here, so that's fine. All right, so all those categories, street, city, straight, you can see these are the nothing but the columns associated with the table, which has the column attribute. So what are the JP annotations we talk about today? At the rate of table, which means that it defines
The table name.
correct at the rate of ID.
It's auto increment. Primary key, sorry,
Uh-huh.
primary key.
Primary key. At the rate of generated value,
Increment.
and at the rate of column is a column. Cool. Okay. So right now we just created a CDT, which is the type of table. It has the same structure. Okay. So we whenever if you want to pass, because from the registration form, right, we need to pass all this information to the table so we can write it. Okay. So that's what the purpose. Any questions, guys, for creating this CDT? No? All right. Now let's go and create another CDT. Before that, let's have something called data store. Okay, so CDT is there, table is there, but we also need to make some connection between this table and CDT, so that whenever if you want to send some data to the table, we can send that, and if you want to retrieve some data from the table, we can do that. So to send the data and retrieve the data, we will require a connection point. So let's see how do we define a connection point. Okay, so for that we will require a data store. So we click on new and we say data store. I'll say ASSDS, data store short form. This data store is for ASS app. Okay, so it will say that which data store source you want to connect. For now, we have our inbuilt database, Appian database. So it's Appian JDBC Tomcat. In case we would have added some few more like Oracle or MySQL Server, that would be registered here, so we can connect to that data source as well. It's just we have to select the data source and click on create. Whenever we create a new object apart from the CDT, so it will say that which security you want to provide. So definitely ASS administrator group that we created will require admin access, and all other users will require at least the viewer access. Okay, we'll say save. So once we save that, an object will be get created that is called ASS data store. Okay, and right now you can see that that entity is blank. It defines the data source here. This data source it is connected. Now what we need to do is that we need to establish a connection point between a data source and then the table. Okay, so for that what we have to do, we have to click on the add entity and give the name. Usually we should be giving the same name, that so that we can easily identify which data source is connected. So we can have ASS, what is the name of CDT, company registration. Okay, so we can say ASS company registration, right? And then it says type. So if I say type, what do you think, what should be the type here? Come on, guys.
Table.
The CDT that we created, right? The CDT that we created, ASS underscore company registration, right? Because this CDT is the only thing that has the name of the table inside their SST file. Okay, so this connection that we're going to establish here, how it will understand that which table it has to create. It will able to understand by the XST file of this particular CDT, which internally has the name of the table. Okay, so if you want to change the name, underscore entity to uniquely identify, you can put that. Click on save. So this is the name that we have given, and the type we have given the CDT that we have created, and inside that CDT we have that table name defined, right? So that this data store will understand to which table it has to connect. Once we click on verify, it will say, okay, I am able to find that table into the system. So that's this connection has been established. Confusion? Let me share my screen as an Excel sheet. Let me define it there. Give me a second. I have to find it somewhere. Yes, I got it. Hmm. Okay, so imagine this is our Appian, okay, the Appian designer, the developer, where we are developing anything, right? All the application. Then this is the database we have. Okay, now we have a table called ASS company registration. Into the Appian MariaDB, we have this table. Okay, this is the table we have, and then what we did, we created a CDT. So we did created a CDT ASS underscore company registration. Okay, so we created a CDT, and inside the CDT internally it has the name of the table, right? Is that clear? Inside the
Yes.
CDT XST file, we have the name of the table. Now we have created this our data store, our own data store. Then let's say ASSDS. This is the data source that we have created. ASSDS. We have created the ASS data source. Okay. Let's move it to top. Okay. So what we have done, we have created a data source called ASSDS, and now we are going to try to add some connection point. So this is a CDT. This is a CDT, and this CDT internally has the name of the database called a table, and here we have the table. Now, how do we make a connection? To make a connection, what we are trying to do is that we are trying to add an entity. An entity that we are going to add, right? We are giving two things: the name, and then we are going to give the type. Okay, so what is the name? Name, let's say we are giving the name as ASS underscore company registration underscore entity. Right, this is the name that we have given. And in the type, we are going to give this. This is going to be a type. Okay, so how it understand? It understand that, okay, in this entity, this is the name of the table, so that data store is capable of understanding by reading this by reading this name of the CDT from inside that SST file. This is being connected to this particular table. So I'll put like this and this. Just because this CDT is get connected to this table, right? This is a type and entity we are going to create. So now it will establish a connection that this particular entity will get created with this particular table. Okay, got it? How the link is being done here? So whatever entity we have created, the name given, right? That entity is getting connected with the table by the SST file. So this connection point that we have created, ESS underscore company registration entity, will now understand which table it has to write the data. Is that clear? Any doubt, you can ask me, guys.
Yeah, understood.
Right. So based on the XST file, the data store understand that which table it has to write the data. Okay, and that that will be defined for with a connection point called entity that we created. Okay, so let me go back to the Appian. Yeah, this is the one. All right. Okay. So this is the connection point that is making, and it, you see, for each table we have to create a new connection point. You know, for each table we there will be one entity, and one entity can represent only one table. Now, for example, if I going to create another CDT for that reference table, right? So I'm going to create another options called database table view. Now it will be clear to you guys. I'll select ASS reference table. Okay, continue. We can change the name if you want. It's capital V, capital A. Now you see this one, right? This checkbox, I'm not going to remove this checkbox. Why we are not going to remove this checkbox? Why? Because if we close other fields, because data store is, we have created a data store. There should not be multi. I mean, we can create multiple data store, but one is enough to handle multiple connection points. So this data store is already created, right? So we are just selecting this data store, and then we are going to put the name. We say the entity. Okay. So we are going to connect this table also to the database connection point. Let's say click on create. This is get created. Now let's go here and refresh this one. Now see, another entity has been get created. Now this entity is referring to which table? Company registration table, and this entity will refer to which table? The reference table. If you click on verify, it's verified. It means that the table is available and all the columns are also same. It's a mapping, so it's verified successfully. So it added one more entity. Is that clear now? Each entity represents one table, connection with the one table. Okay. Likewise, if we have multiple tables, we will have the multiple entities. Is that clear, guys?
Yes, Ravi. Yeah.
Okay, so let it be till here. We can continue tomorrow. We'll see that more and more. How do we use that entity to bring the data from the table? Okay, and then we'll start designing an interface where we'll see that how do we create an interface to capture the data from the end users, and then how do we pass that information to the database table. All right. So meanwhile, I have created and credentials and I have shared with you guys on the WhatsApp group. Please do practice from there. You know, if you don't have your own environment, you can create your application on my instance that I've given. Make sure that you don't delete someone else object, and mostly don't share that credentials with anyone else outside. Okay, and then whatever application you guys will create, just try to add some prefix so you can understand that's your application. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, guys. Let's connect tomorrow and then we can continue. Okay.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, just get it there. I mean, whatever we have discussed, try to practice and then come up with the questions we can discuss. Okay.